I just finished Tenet, and for the next little bit, I'm going to be talking about my movie experience, so feel free to skip to the timestamp shown here if you don't want to see it. This was my first time back to the movies since the quarantine, and I brought along my notebook, for my notes. And funny enough, so since this is the first time I've had to write in the dark, I decided I'd go with a lot of space in between my lines, and I'd try to write as thoroughly as possible, because obviously I wouldn't have as much time to pause and rewind. And what ended up happening is I actually started writing on papers that I had already written on, so it was kind of like I was in Tenet, and I was going both forward but going backwards because I was writing over other reviews. So if my upcoming notes are a little confused, that's why. Non-spoilers. First, I enjoyed Robert Pattinson, but I think he was miscast in the role. John David Washington I thought was good, but again, no standout moments in the entire film. Quite enjoyed Elizabeth Debicki, I believe is her name. I thought she was the best actor of the entire film, and I truly enjoyed her performance. Worst actor of the movie was Kenneth Branagh. I'm not pronouncing names, but I truly feel as though he was miscast and also wasn't given anything to work with, and so I really was not enjoying any second he was on screen. The plot, despite being very big-brained, was easy to follow, and I don't feel as though they got too lost in the sciencey parts of it, although they were also very nervous to tackle the science at certain points. I'm just like, why are you guys trying? It's just made-up physics. You don't need to try to explain things that you can't. Everything beyond here is going to be a spoiler, so skip to this timestamp if you don't want the movie to be spoiled. I'm still very confused by the opening scene. I don't understand if it was a terrorist plot or if it was a training exercise, or perhaps both. Either way, very weird, and I found the terrorists to be hilariously evil, especially when they went to town on that cello. That was just a really weird moment. Cinematography for the entire film was really good. Christopher Nolan really likes to live in his worlds, and I think that always pays off in his movies. I especially loved how grand this film felt, especially in that airport scene when the shuttle was coming in. It was absolutely amazing to watch. The stakes were perfect for most of the film, but then it came about ending the entire universe kind of thing, and I was so done at that point. The movie soundtrack, despite being nothing but loud noises, was really nice to listen to and really kept my heart pounding throughout most of the film. I love that they established their plans before every big action piece. That's always a huge thing for me. I always need to see the plans before they're happening, so that way I can know if this is going well or not. With the villain being able to contact the future at any point in the film, I really didn't feel much tension, because I didn't understand why he couldn't just ask for futuristic guns and futuristic information and futuristic technology. It was just very limited in what he was able to call and what he wasn't. And also, speaking of the future, I didn't understand the back and forth thing where he was negotiating for his wife's release. I don't get how you can go backwards in time and negotiate with someone going forwards. The protagonist falls in love with the girl, and I just don't feel as though that was needed. It was just an added thing, and they didn't have this great chemistry together, so I don't feel as though that was needed for this movie about saving the universe. And while we're on the topic of the girl, I found it hilarious when she was informed that the entire world would end if they failed, and their first thought coming out of that was, that includes my son. I'm glad we're establishing your motivations here. They were wearing totally different masks during either shot of the airport fight, which is a little incongruity, which I know doesn't matter too much, but if you watch it again from the beginning, you can clearly see that the man who attacks the protagonist isn't wearing the same mask as the protagonist going back in time. Also, why did he shoot at his past self when he was going backwards in time? Wouldn't you want to make sure that you don't kill yourself? I don't really understand what the algorithm thing was, but again, whatever it is, shouldn't they just be able to destroy it? Why did they need to send it back in time to stop the bad guys from getting it? Getting ready for the final battle, the protagonist is doing pull-ups outside, and that's really risky. I don't know why he would be doing that. If his air tank came off, he would literally suffocate and die, and the whole operation would be over, so I don't think that he would be risking his life to do some exercises. Finally, on the subject of the final battle, it was really grandiose, which is fine, but it was just totally out of bounds with the rest of the movie. Sure, there were some really big action set pieces, but like a huge battle at the end, and like there's two forces going forward and backwards, and I didn't really understand why they were fighting these people. I didn't understand the enemies' motivation for being there. Russia obviously just wanted to be, with his wife in the end, and he just wanted to die. But especially his like manacle henchman, like what did he get out of this whole thing? Overall movie, I'll give a B. It was going for something really big, and I just think it needed a bit more time to cool, if you know what I mean. I just feel as though it could have been fed to the audience a bit easier. A persisting issue throughout the entire movie is some audio editing. There were times when I would know that the character was speaking about something important, and it's not that I couldn't understand, it's that I literally couldn't hear the words, and that was a big issue for about 3 or 4 dialogue pieces, which is probably why I'm a bit more confused than, say, you would be. It's just very odd that they chose to leave in some over effects when they were talking.